Hey, what's up, y'all? Marjack79 here, and it has been forever since I have talked about a movie or a TV show on the channel. I'm kind of different. I don't talk about everything. I usually cut on the camera when I am extremely passionately in love with a TV show or a movie, or if I passionately hate it. That brings us to Tales of the Jedi. I did not expect going into this show to love it as much as I did. I was enthralled with all 6 little 15-minute shorts that it gave us. Ahsoka Tano has always been one of my favorite characters from Star Wars. Since the end of Clone Wars, from The Mandalorian, I've always been enthralled with her character development. Dave Filoni is such a mastercraft in developing Star Wars stories. It's kind of shocking to see that Disney has not given him the full helm of the franchise yet. But I have absolutely at this point come to the terms to accept that anything Disney releases animated Star Wars in the Clone Wars style is going to be a masterclass if it is Dave Filoni at the helm of the story. This was so good. Every bit of this 6-part storytelling was just good. There was no part of it that I disliked. It focused on Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku, from Ahsoka Tano's birth into her descent into coming back into the fight after the events of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, and it expresses Count Dooku's fall to the dark side. Such a masterclass in storytelling. I loved it. Ahsoka Tano's birth was the first episode, probably the most boring one out of the 6, but I think it was really cool to get to meet Ahsoka's parents and the tribe that she is from. Music. The Amazonian style music that always plays when Ahsoka is in the forefront of the story always enthralls me so deep into the story that it just makes me care what happens to her. I know that is very personal and very biased, but I've always been enthralled with like a jungle themed Amazonian type music style. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've always loved Ahsoka's character so much as well. Just in this episode, her discovering her force powers, being able to calm the saber-toothed tiger down, and the village elder realizing that she's a Jedi. Not necessarily that she just has force powers, but she could sense the light inside of Ahsoka's heart. Like, you're born to be a Jedi. So that was such a cool moment, and there was such a fabulous start to the series, and it hooked me. It absolutely hooked me to continue watching the rest of the episodes. Then we got the Count Dooku story. Now, obviously, I think the biggest, coolest part of this episode is being able to meet a young Qui-Gon Jinn in his Padawan stage. That was just epic. Being able to see a very young Count Dooku and them going on missions and trying to help the Republic, not necessarily the Republic, but the people that the Republic and the Senate is supposed to serve. And that really introduced us to kind of the fall of the Jedi Empire, or why it began to fall in the first place, is because they got away from the Jedi philosophies and started focusing more on politics and helping out the wealth and the rich. And that's always worked out for society at all times, hasn't it? But definitely seeing Count Dooku always have a heart for wanting equality for everybody and not just the rich and powerful kind of starts his descent into moving away from the Jedi and kind of his descent into darkness. And it was such a beautifully told story. It definitely makes you have a heart for Count Dooku and kind of starting to understand why he descended to the dark side. And that takes us to episode 3, when we get to see a young Mace Windu in action as well before he became a member of the Jedi Council. It's always cool seeing Mace Windu in action. He is also one of my favorite Jedi. He's kind of a dick, but at least he gets the job done the most of the time anyways. To this day, it still kind of pisses me off that him or Yoda didn't see the descent of Anakin Skywalker into the dark side after they knew his mom had passed away, and they really couldn't sense his deception with his wife. But, you know, that's a story for another day. But it was still really cool to see him back in action, though, and to kind of see him try to stop Count Dooku from being himself and trying to follow the Jedi rules to a T. even though some of the Jedi rules was kind of hypocrisy, and I could definitely understand why someone of an open mind wouldn't want to follow all those rules to an absolute T. It's another thing that goes along with those politics. You can kind of understand why Mace Windu got chosen to be a part of the council, and Count Dooku didn't, because Count Dooku was a free thinker and wanting the best for his fellow man. Definitely my favorite part of the episode was the deception of Mace Windu knowing he was going to be offered a spot on the council, and him not telling Dooku, who was supposed to be his friend, about the spot. So, I found that a little bit weird. That's not really Jedi-ish ways, in my opinion. Master Jedi Yaddle. It's always cool seeing somebody from Yoda's species in action in Star Wars. It's only kind of sad, though, because we kind of already knew that this was going to be the story that explained Yaddle's end, and I kind of had an implantation that Count Dooku was going to be the prime suspect that caused her downfall. So I kind of explained a lot, too, that she kind of sensed Count Dooku's descent into the dark side, that he was kind of playing a double agent and conspiring with Palpatine. It's really cool to see Palpatine in action and Count Dooku meeting with him, trying to accomplish missions to bring peace to the galaxy, and Yaddle figuring this out and following Dooku, especially after coming to the terms that Count Dooku blamed the Jedi Council for Qui-Gon's death, especially after he had proof that the Sith had returned and the Council turned a blind eye to him. So it definitely fully explains the pipeline of Count Dooku's descent to the dark side. And of course, it makes perfect sense that Yaddle making her appearance to Dooku and Palpatine. Palpatine demanded Dooku prove his loyalty by making Dooku slay Yaddle, which accumulated into an epic lightsaber fight, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But it was very apparent from the beginning of the lightsaber fight that Yaddle was not as skilled in lightsaber and force combat as Yoda. But nevertheless, it was still an epic battle that unfortunately ended in the death of Yaddle. Then, of course, Yaddle appears to have been at middle age at the time of her death, so people thinking that Grogu might be a love child between Yaddle and Yoda is probably debunked at this point as well. Then the story finally flips back to Ahsoka during the middle of her Padawan training. She is excelling at an extraordinary rate, and all of the Jedi Padawan tests are really no match for her. So Anakin takes it upon himself to train her more ferociously, more aggressively, so that he doesn't have to worry about her meeting her demise. We are introduced to a very cool training exercise where it's basically her against Rex and all of the clone troopers firing stun blasters at her, which basically turns into a game of survival and defending. It is such a cool spectacle. Like, of course, when she first starts out, she's only able to last a couple of seconds. Then those couple of seconds turn into about 20 seconds. Then the 20 seconds turns into a minute. Then even when she's kind of mastered the exercise, she could still only last for about 5 minutes. Personally, I think it's very fascinating that Anakin was the first Jedi teacher that kind of thought to himself, these basic exercises that the Jedi are teaching their younglings and Padawans to become Jedi Knights are kind of weak. I feel like we need more aggressive training exercises if we want to survive a war, which, of course, during that time, they were smack dab in the middle of the Clone Wars. So I definitely find it interesting upon the thousands of years of Jedi. Anakin kind of was that first one to be like, this isn't working. Let's try something more aggressive, which inadvertently led to her survival of Order 66, specifically caused by this training. This is masterful storytelling. Dave Filoni, thank you. You did not get this type of accumulative combined storytelling. I really haven't seen anything since the Infinity Stone saga from the MCU, which then we finish out the episode with the funeral procession of Padme, which we do get the confirmation that Ahsoka was present for that event. It was just as sad. It was just as beautiful as I could remember. The animators did a beautiful job of recreating this scene from Revenge of the Sith. I think this adds so much more definition to Ahsoka's character that even after the ordeal of surviving Order 66, she still took the initiative to attend the funeral of her dear friend. It was such a beautiful scene, man, that her wandering the halls of just so deserted, so abandoned. It does a beautiful display of showing her just being alone, just her inner emotions of just sadness and despair. And then we have Bail Organa kind of noticing that really is her, and him asking her like, hey, what are you doing here? You're risking so much. She, like the person that she is, stating that she's my friend. I wanted to say goodbye. It's really that simple. Such a beautiful scene, such a beautiful character, just more so than her skills in the Force and the lightsaber combat, just kind of distinguishing why she's one of my favorite characters. It's all about the character, man, or more so the character development of Ahsoka Tano. And that takes us to this guy, the sixth brother of the Inquisitors, who quickly becomes known as one of the weaker Sith Force users. Oh my God. Of course, with any type of mastered force powers, you're going to be able to decimate any regular people or regular town. But him coming up against Ahsoka and remembering that Ahsoka has taken on the likes of Darth Maul and bested him, you just automatically know, like, oh, this dude's not even going to be a match for Ahsoka at all whatsoever, even without her lightsabers that she left to not be distinguished as a Jedi. I could still do it play by play. Swipe to the left, dodge, swipe to the right, dodge, overhead swipe, dodge, another overhead swipe, counter, catch, turn off one lightsaber, twist it apart, take the other lightsaber, slice this dude's head off. What? Listen to me, guys. You can ask any Star Wars fan from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and present. This is Star Wars at its best. I don't care what anybody says. For me, personally, this is Star Wars storytelling at its absolute pinnacle. Yes. This was masterclass. This was a masterpiece. This is why I became a Star Wars fan flat out. I am curious, though. Post it in the comments below if you so choose to. Did anybody not like this? Did anybody watch all 6 of these episodes and be like, this sucks. I hated this. I hate what Star Wars has become. Everything Disney does with Star Wars is trash. Really? No way. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. There's no way you watched the last season of Clone Wars, The Mandalorian, and now this, Tales of the Jedi, and you're like, this is trash. Hate it all. It's trash. Oh my God. I did see one dude post on Facebook that he was like, all this animated stuff is for kids. Bring us back the real life Star Wars. I'm like, oh my God, dude, you are so one-dimensional. You're so just thick-headed. You just can't accept anything new. You can't give the story a chance to flourish. Can it be more about the story and besides like what you specifically want? Just trust the process. Trust the story, man. Sheesh. But nevertheless, if you have interesting comments to make here, feel free. Just don't be a dick about it. Okay, I think I have gotten out every thought I wanted to get out about this show. If it's no secret, obviously I love this show. But like I said, now I want to know your thoughts. Did you enjoy it? If you did, hit that like button. Even if you didn't like Tales of the Jedi, hit that like button anyways. All right, man. Y'all know what we do here. I've been a Star Wars fan for about 10 years now. It is a major part of this channel, and it has afforded me to make an income talking about the things that I love. And if you took this journey with me, thank you. That means you love what I'm doing here, and I couldn't be more appreciative for it. You can follow me at youtube.com/marjack79. I am also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, my friends, I will see you guys on the next one. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.